If you missed Tuesday night's Race Chat Live with Chris, Taz, and Miss Lee, you missed a very interesting conversation. Cousin Carl versus Father Time. Check it out.
Cousin Carl versus Father Time. We would like to open
All I can say is Cousin Carl still looks fine. And laugh at me all you want.
I like Cousin Carl. She's a sucker for the style.
Actually, honestly, I think he did an excellent job in the booth. And for the time that he has been away from the track, he was the most relevant guest commentator of all. And he obviously misses racing. I think that we will see him back in some way, shape, or form, whether it's SRX or a couple race deal in NASCAR, whatever. But he misses racing big time. I got that.
Who see Cousin Carl pulling off his helmet and fixing his hair?
Ready for this one?
His hair the way that he used to do.
Hold on. Ready for this one? Instead of baby come back, it's Carl come back. You can come back to racing.
No, I don't want him to come back full time. No, I don't want him to come back full time, y'all. His time is done. He is the Barry Sanders of NASCAR. He was the Andrew Luck of football. He walked away in his prime, and it will always be a what might have been. I don't want to lose that perception of him. We're going to see Jimmy Johnson come back to a sport that's left him already.
So I want to.
I feel as good looking as Carl Edwards is, and as great as what it looks like, he would just fit right back in that seat. He's not raced in 5 years, and that's rust.
Chris, I don't want to see him come back full time either, and I don't think he wants that. But to see him the seat here and there once in a while, I personally think he could handle that, and I think that's what he wants. A one-off here and there. He will not come back to racing full time. His wife's not going to let him.
Right.
But she might let him do one here or there.
Do these drivers of the names of Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Dale Jr., Ryan Newman, do these guys carry such a hold on racing that if they went and say they decided to run Cars Series full time, would they have in any form or fashion a competition to possibly NASCAR? Because I really feel like if you took the group core of racers that have retired here recently from the NASCAR Cup Series, and you put them on a racetrack at North Wilkesboro in a car series, or even Five Flags, or what's the Hickory Motor Speedway, and you put a camera crew there and you filmed it, or you did a live show of this, I just believe with my heart that those drivers still have a hold of their fan base, and it's the fan base that creates and keeps the market of NASCAR flowing. These drivers, in our hearts, I feel like retired before we were ready for them to, including Carl Edwards. I mean, he's a perfect example of this, right? The guy looks like he's able to, wheel a race car to championships back to back. I mean, it's probably done his body great to step away from the race car, and so he looks even better. I know Martin, that man looked like he had gotten out of a fire pit every time I'd ever seen him. The guy didn't look young. He looked old and like that guy who never stops, a leather face. I mean, just never stops working out. Carl Edwards is quite the opposite. The guy's a good-looking guy. He's stepped away from racing. He's no longer has the stress of what's going on. And we've seen similar when Andrew Luck did the pregame show with the Super Bowl this past year. The guy was skinny. He had a big smile. He was very but at the same time, you put them back into the league and they wouldn't perform. But now you create this other league, or you put all these guys like what we're going to see here at North Wilkesboro. I'm telling you, I just feel like there could be a whole new racing league created and would have a heavy hand in the viewerships that would come along to watch it.
That's an interesting thought, but that's why I mentioned Carl maybe going to SRX. You know, it would be a good introduction for him back into the racing series.
I agree.
But, you know, again, like I said, I think Carl's kept up on shit. 25 cents for the swear jar. But he was more relevant in the booth than Bill Elliott was, or Kyle and Richard Petty were.
Right.
And even though he's been away from racing, he still had more relevant comments to make. So maybe that's his way back into racing. I don't know.
Hey, I think anybody would be better in the booth right now than Clint Boyer and Mike Joy. And you know, I have taken up from Mike Joy. The mistakes are growing every week, and I believe Mike's just past that point to where he needs to carry a broadcast. And Clint Boyer definitely does not help Mike Joy in any form or fashion. And the third wheel doesn't either.
Right.
The way that Carl Edwards gelled and made everything, it was like this is the Scott Goodyear. This is the James Hinchcliffe. This is the Connor Daly. Like, this is Darrell Waltrip. Like, this works. His voice is soothing. He has interesting topics to talk about. He's clear-minded. He's very focused and articulate. Those are all things that you're missing from the broadcast booth. I feel like
everything that he said, and everything that Carl said, even though he admitted he didn't know this car, but everything that he said was still relevant to the racing.